Hello. Today is Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. And welcome to Let's Talk Immigration. I have some work being done on my house today where my home office is. So I'm in our real office in Bonsall, California. And so that's why my background is different. If you have questions for me today, where are they at? Put them in the comments, okay? And I will put the comment up on the screen and I will address it. Actually, um, if you want to join and ask your question video, I'm sharing a link right now for you to join backstage. I'm sharing that link. It should be going on comments and maybe Twitter, but definitely YouTube and Facebook. Okay. Okay, so do I have anything to talk about before I go to questions? Yes, I'm going to go to questions in just a second. We have a lot of litigation pending right now, primarily on behalf of Iranian visa applicants and Russian visa applicants who are trying to get in the U.S. before any Trump policies. And a lot of people are coming to me with this question of what's the chances of success? What are the outcomes? And let me tell you, we have different outcomes in almost every lawsuit. Sometimes we'll file a lawsuit and within like a few weeks, they will clear everybody. And sometimes they won't clear anybody until we start fighting back, until they file a motion to dismiss and we file a response in opposition. And then they start clearing visa applicants. And sometimes these applicants don't get cleared. Sometimes we're seeing with students, maybe 10% of students right now are getting 214B refusals, which means they have intent to reside. That's very strange because that determination should have been made when the consular officer was interviewing them 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago. Instead, that decision is being made after the security advisory opinion is returned to the consular officer. So lots of that whole phenomenon is strange. So lots of different outcomes are possible with group lawsuits, just like different outcomes are possible with individual mandamus lawsuits. But I think the most important thing about the work we do is if you want something and there's a government bureaucracy in front of you getting it, you need to fight for it. And that's what we do. We sue the U.S. government because people are not getting what they deserve, and the government has a duty to give decisions. You know, you all pay visa application fees. You pay these fees. What you're paying for is for them to make the decision. So if they're not making the decision, they're getting scammed, right? So we will continue when Trump comes into office in 12 days. We will continue to do mandamus litigation, but we will also probably do policy challenges to any barriers he puts into place that are unlawful. For those that have known me for a while, you'll know that that's how I spent the first Trump administration, suing the government. And we actually won injunctive relief against Trump, right? More than once. So let's hope that he doesn't do anything unlawful or put any more barriers in front of visa applicants trying to just get their visas. But if and when he does, which it is forthcoming, we will be here to support you and to do what we can to fight for you. Okay. I see I have a question. Hey, Curtis, do you see a new Muslim Iranian ban coming soon? Okay, here's what I see. I see that Trump promised to put it back into place his first day in office. And his first day in office is January 20th in 12 days. Okay. He also promised to make it more stronger than it was before. And before, you say a Muslim Iranian ban, but there were actually two bans, Proclamation 9645 and 9983, that were these type of bans. and one was for primarily African countries. It's called the African ban, is what we called it. So both of these apply. This answer applies to both. Okay, and I expect that it will not be the mirror version of what he did last time, and it will actually be more restrictive. Okay. One example that he said, that Trump has actually said with his mouth, he said that he's going to prevent Palestinian protesters or something. Like, that's when that came up, when um, um, Palestinians in the U.S. that were in American schools were protesting what was happening in Gaza, what Israel was doing in Gaza. And that's when Trump weighed in and said, well, my next Muslim ban is going to be even broader than the last one. So I can't predict the future. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to say, but I can say my expectation is going to be worse than it was before. So thank you for this question, because it leads me to my advice of the day that I've already sent in a tweet. If you have an issued visa between now and January 20th, you go get on a plane and you fly into the US, because that issued visa is only a sticker. It doesn't have a legal meaning until you enter the US. Okay. So it doesn't give you any rights until you enter the US. So my recommendation, if you have a visa, you go to the airport, get on a plane, come to the US. We are going to be slammed with calls of people that need our help after January 20th, who I do not want to be talking to as the people that had the ability to come and then chose not to, because that's just crazy. If you have a visa right now and you want to be in the US, you need to come in the US now, because in 12 days, it might not be possible. Now, let's not go crazy with alarmism here. If you're a US citizen and you're outside the US, you're going to be able to come back. If you're a green card holder and you're outside the US, you probably are going to be able to come back. I say that because sometimes green card holders try to push the envelope on residing in the US, right? Sometimes I talk to green card holders and I say, well, how long have you been outside the US? And they say like 5 years. And I'm like, you're not a green card holder anymore. That's called abandonment, right? So if you abandon a green card, there's a process to get it back, but you have to prove that it was beyond your control, and that's hard. So in sum, if you have a visa, go to the airport, get on a plane, come to the US. Very important. Any more questions? Put your questions in the comments and I'll jump on them. We are currently onboarding 2 group cases, group lawsuits. Let me talk about those. One is for students. We're onboarding a small group of 15. I expect there's a lot of demand for that, so it'll probably fill up within a few days. The standard price for that when we do a group of 15 is $1,300 per participant. If it's a couple, it's still $1,300. And where's my contact? Right there's my Telegram. So bad at this. Right there's my Telegram. If you want to participate or you're interested in more information, what we need to send you a proposed retainer agreement is F1 or J1 name, an email address, F2, J2 name, an email address, and interview date, because we want to make sure your interview was at least 6 months ago. Also, if you served in SEPA or IRGC, you're not eligible to participate. And that's because you would not be eligible to enter the US. And so the process would be futile. Okay. So that's the one lawsuit that we are onboarding right now. Student group lawsuit, 15 participants. Another one is fiancés. If you are a US citizen and you have petitioned for your Iranian fiancé and they have been in AP, administrative processing, after the interview for 6 months or more, you need to get with me right away, because this case will only have 15 participants, and we've already signed up, I think, 5 as of today, and we've got 6 more retainer agreements out there. So it'll fill up fast too. Interview must be at least 6 months ago. Okay. And I know the question you're going to ask, some of you are going to say, like, well, which court are you going to file these in? Well, because we have a lot of attorneys and we have affiliations with other attorneys, colleagues, I have a lot of options on which court we use, but it's also based upon who our plaintiffs are and where they are located. You get venue for court, for a proper court, 3 ways: where the plaintiff is, where the plaintiff lives, is domiciled, where the defendant is, where the activity causing the controversy is located, right? So with a lot of cases for people outside the US, you could just file in DC. But if it's a student case, your SAO request is being processed in Sterling, Virginia, so we can file in the Eastern District of Virginia. So we have another option. If there is a student case where the F1 is already in the US and the AP is for the F2, where the F1 is in the US is another jurisdiction where we might have an option on where to file. So we make the decision where we file a lawsuit after we know who all the plaintiffs are going to be. Okay. Okay. So I've got a comment here showing up. Thank you. Since nobody's asking other questions, I'll ask one. Good. There's a ton of talk and discussion around H-1B and country cap removal. Yes, there is. Do you expect any change on H-1B, NIWEB2, country cap change, or even OPT removal? Because recently I'm hearing about the last one as well. This is a great question, and I don't feel comfortable predicting what will happen. I do have some thoughts about it, though, that I don't mind sharing. And that is, I think the people that are victims of the green card backlog that have been in the US on H-1Bs for decades or years, and they don't see a green card in sight, I sympathize with their plight, but I think they're getting manipulated. I think that their energy is going to be used to perhaps take a swing at the diversity visa program, or even take a swing at family immigration, because the narrative that Elon Musk and Vivek are spinning, the narrative that they're putting out there, is that immigration to the U.S. is only valuable if it's this high tech skilled labor. And let me tell you something: the United States of America was a damn good country even before we had computers, before we had like Silicon Valley. So while Silicon Valley is great, it's the reason we're able to have this live right now. It's not the only thing that's great about America. And we can have immigrants into the US that maybe are not high-skilled immigrants. It's okay, because like the diversity visa program, the diversity that comes from the diversity visa program, it improves the lives of all Americans by like making our experiences and our culture and our knowledge, like it expands them all. It's great. So anyway, what I have to say is, I think that if you are an advocate for removing the country caps or the green, or solving the problem with the green card backlog, just don't be hoodwinked. Do not be tricked by Elon and Vivek, because they have a different agenda. Well, MAGA has a different agenda too. There's a split there between what's happening in the Republican Party. Okay. If you didn't know this, I'm not a Republican, okay? So I'll let them explain their split. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. Do I have any parting words? We're going to have one more show. I think we're going to have one more show before Trump takes office. The reason I say I think is because I have a hearing next Wednesday in Maryland. And then I have 2 Zoom hearings that day also. So I'm not sure. I just booked my flight like later in the day, so I'll have time to do this show, but I don't know when those hearings will go over. So I think I'll see you next Wednesday. But if I don't, know that I'm in a very cold place. probably where it's snowy. So, um, okay, thank you also. So I'm gonna say bye, and I'll see you all next Wednesday. Take care.